All right. Well, I know Jeffrey at KCLV TV has a question. So Jeffrey, I will go ahead and call on you for the first one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you both for joining us today. I had a blast watching this. It was just so much fun. And, Dana, the original screenplay took less than 2 weeks to write. How long did your adaptation take?
A lot longer. There's been more time and effort has been put into every one of these reads has taken more time and effort than the actual movie. I guarantee you. but I, the thing they say about Plan 9's claim to fame is that it's the worst movie ever made, which is far from true, because the biggest crime a movie can commit is to be boring, and Plan 9 is never boring. And not only is it never boring, it's bad in consistently different ways up until the last frame. like here's a bad movie that's bad the same way all the way through. Battlefield Earth. That movie, it's bad and then it's the same. Plan 9 is like the Richter. It's like it's beautiful. It's a masterpiece. I mean, it is a masterpiece of being totally absurd and wrong in so many ways. That's really well put. And so much, there's so much heart in it. He loved it so much. Ed Wood loved that movie. You can feel his love in every frame, even as it is totally bewildering you. That is true. and that's what sets Ed Wood's work apart from, say, Al Adamson's work or someone like that, where there's I feel that there's a lot less cynicism in Ed Wood's work and a lot more genuine affection. And the actual story of the premise of Plan 9, it's not a bad premise. it goes downhill from there. but I get the idea. I can see that working. You connect the red string on the pictures on the bulletin board that is the plot of the movie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question from Sean Kernan, who's writing for Regional Media. A question for both of you. What instructions did you give to Lorraine Newman regarding her narrator character? Oh, she was so great.
None. I didn't need to. Lorraine Newman, I think I speak for Janet as well. Lorraine Newman is one of those people that I can't believe I'm friends with, because I came of age watching Lorraine Newman on SNL, and I, being in high school during the first cast of SNL.
No longer speaking for me.
True. Yeah, I'm like a mighty comedy tree, seeing the ages come and go. Two big things were going on: the original cast of SNL and a little thing we like to call the Bronze Age. But she was like in the Beatles to me. It was like that was as much as you could get in terms of being a comedy star. And then I got to be her friend years later. And not only is she brilliant comedian and an actress, but she's a monster movie nerd. Like, she knows Plan 9 word for word anyway. So she was one of those people. I didn't have to say a damn thing. I knew she would nail it, and she did it great. What she did, we've had other narrators. Ron Lynch also narrates the show sometimes when we do it live, and Lorraine made a great choice with being really newscaster flat. I thought it was great.
Deadpan. Yeah, gorgeous.
Thank you. Okay, John from Hollywood Soapbox, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you for the time today. I'm just curious.
This is about fighting a dinosaur, so I'll ask Dana.
That was my second question. My first one is, I'm curious if,
were they fast? Go ahead.
The excitement you have for being part of this film festival. It's also interesting that it'll be presented on TV, not like live in person. How does that kind of change the enjoyment of this? But it's also paired with the movie, which is nice as well too. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, go, Janet.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, no one in the last year has felt great about talking about silver linings with a pandemic, although arguably that's kind of all we've had for a year. So we also have to be able to talk about those silver linings, I think, to get through. But, there are so many people who are going to have access to this that wouldn't be able to see it at a film festival proper, including, family members I have all over and friends. And so, so in that way, it's a total gift. And we also, the fact that it's going to be shown not on the internet exclusively means that members of my family who don't know how to get onto the internet, they understand. Yeah. They know what TCM is. They are losing their minds with excitement. And so it is, for us, it's a way of reaching more people. So that's a huge upside, to be honest, at least from my perspective. Yeah. Now, Dana, you don't know what TV is because you watch dinosaurs.
Yeah, we're on Dumont, and my family is also losing its mind, but not with excitement, and they're unaware of the show. The fact that it's on TV, I mean, nothing beats the live performance. I mean, to just from an actor's point of view, just to feel the audience, but. When we did, as Janet said, when we did decide to do this for Sketchfest as Zoom, we talked about, well, how do we take the limits of Zoom and turn them to our advantage? And so what we got with this production of it was wholly different than the live show, and especially with the addition of what Mike Carano did with the miniature effects and what Eben did with the music. It really, it's what I love about it is it's its own thing. I don't know how to describe what it is, but it works. And like Plan 9, it's funny all the way through. And the fact that it's on TV and paired with the actual movie is actually, for me, it's a big deal. Like, It's one of those things like, I made this, I did this, and it's on TV. That's always for people that grow up fans of that stuff, like I did. I get a much bigger kick out of this than other stuff. Like I'm very happily in a niche.
It's also, I mean, it's living. Being able to have this recording now and knowing that it's being shown again in this amazing context. I mean, this is a very specific time in our history, and being able to see Gary Anthony Williams with his little, earbuds in his house, being a character that's not something that we really would have seen a couple of years ago even. And so I think there's something kind of, to me, something sort of precious about having locked in this moment in time of this is how we all had to do it. And it was great. And it worked, and it's still super weird because you can fully tell that David Koechner's in his kitchen. There's something folksy about that that I feel like Ed Wood would have been like, bravo, do it whatever way you can,
I don't know who it is, but I guarantee you at least one person is not wearing pants. And
at least one person. At least one person.
And here's the only silver lining that I have from the pandemic is, whenever you're having an argument with your partner or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, husband, wife, and you're sure you're right, and you're going in, just remember how excited you were when you said Happy New Year, December 31st, 2019. Boy, we just thought 2020 was, oh, here it is, baby. This is gonna be great. And it's just important to remember that you don't always have all the facts, and you can be wrong, flagrantly wrong.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, Nick from Scene Stealers, go ahead and ask your question.
Dana, you've talked quite a bit about over the years about your relationship and friendship with Mila Nurmi, who was Vampira.
Yeah.
Do you see this live read as being a bit of an homage to her? And also, how do you homage in a reading someone whose character is mute?
That's a great question. And I love
Give
to
her a
say,
line.
I like, yeah. First, give her a line. I like admire your vinyl collection. I always wanted the Vampira character in the live show because she's such an intrinsic part of the movie, even though she doesn't have any lines. She did have lines in the script. Mila didn't want them. Mila was not a fan of the script, but was a fan of money. So she didn't want them. And then as we did the show, and I found a way to put Mila put Vampira into the show, and then it just grows. And it's one of those things where you do it once and you get an idea and you try it and you get it better. Catherine Hoggeson, who plays Vampira in this production, has a great look, and she's very gifted, in terms of the way she evokes what Mila did. And I was really happy to do it that way. But I think that Mila would have liked it and approved of it. Just a weird story. In the late 90s, I took Mila to see Plan 9 at the Cinerama Dome here in Los Angeles at a midnight show on Halloween. And no one knew that she was, she's this old lady. And we're sitting there, and it was pretty packed. And when Vampira came on screen, the place erupted. And she said, "Oh, there she is," which I thought was sweet. And then you could feel her, and you could feel her sort of beaming a little bit. It was a really sweet moment.
Thank you. Kimberly from Journeys in Classic Film, go ahead and ask your question.
I would love to hear both of you talk about your history with the film, with Ed Wood, just how you came to it.
This is neither the time nor the place.
Could we get a more appropriate question, please?
Janet, why don't you?
Oh, I mean, I definitely saw it. I saw it at a midnight screening, probably in San Francisco in my teens, and was also, a Mystery Science Theater 3000 geek in its early days and all through its life, and just again always sort of. It's just adorable. And I really don't mean that in a condescending way. It's adorable to me, in that I adore it. And so when Dana started talking about doing this, I lost my mind. I was so excited. And because, having been friends with Dana for many, many years and worked with him in various capacities, I knew whatever he was going to do with it would make it even better. And so, reading that, and Dana's right. He was joking about how long it's taken to work on it versus the 2 weeks that it took to write, for Ed Wood to write it. But there's something different every time we've done this live.
Yeah,
whenever he distributes the scripts, it's not just that we play around with casting every time, but also there's new jokes, there's stuff he pulls out because he's tired of it. I mean, it's an evolving production, and even if it stayed the same, the way that the performers who all love each other, make each other laugh, would be still just a totally rich playtime for all of us. But the fact that on top of that, there's new stuff in the script that surprises you. I've never been able to keep a straight face when we do the show. And I'm so grateful that that's not an important component to Dana, because when we do it live, I'm crying with laughter in anything that I'm not saying. I'm just laughing at everybody else so hard.
Yeah, it's like Rocky Horror, I think, in that regard. There's just something really magical about it. And Janet is also the only person I know on God's earth that has a Mona McKinnon impression, who played the actress who plays Paula Trent. So you wouldn't think it was a character, but by golly, she nailed it. Oddly, the person that I discovered Plan 9 through is in the cast of this show. I was a young comedian, and I grew up a monster movie guy and reading a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland starting when I was about 12 or 13. And I was very aware of Plan 9. I had never seen it. I knew about Vampira. My mother used to reference Vampira a lot, which is strange. But I'd never seen it. I moved to Boston, and I was starting out as a comedian, and I was friends with Bobcat Goldthwait, and Bobcat and his friend Tom Kenny, who has done the show, and you may know as the voice of SpongeBob now. They were like, "Oh my God, you have to see Plan 9. You have to see Plan 9." And back then we had video cassettes, and I watched the movie, and my head exploded. Like, and to watch it for the first time with Tom Kenny and Bob Goldthwait is a real gift, and a guy named Dan Spencer. It's a real gift, and I got it instantly. It's hilariously funny, and it's all the stuff that we love, and it's the event horizon of nerd culture, and it's great. And and Bobcat, Bobcat has a tattoo of Ed Wood on his arm, because I was going to say bicep, but let's be honest, it's on his arm. I'm not one of those comedians that feels the need to take off my shirt for a punchline, and neither is Bob. And we're that passionate about this stuff, and I love the fact that he's in the show. It's like for a band that's really into the Beatles, and you're in a band, and it sort of is a through line in your life. It's not dissimilar.
Thank you. Jeffrey from KCLV, go ahead and, I'm sorry, Bob at ABC Radio.
Bob in there first, yeah.
Bob, I've been seeing Bob's hand. I keep putting Bob.
And ABC is owned by Disney, and if you want to thumb your nose at the Disney
don't mess with that.
And now they own Fox. Everybody's owned.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're the 51st star on the flag.
That's right.
Speaking of crazy, Bobcat's zany portrayal, to me, shades of the Keystone Cops, his outfit and everything.
The hat. I wasn't expecting the hat.
And my question is, were the actors responsible kind of for their own outfits and tailoring their own looks?
100%. And the one that really there's one thing I want to say about Bob. Well, Maria Bamford really went to town in a way that, and again, we're all in our homes, so I'm just like, bring your instrument, bring what you want to do. Maria Bamford, just above and beyond, so funny.
Oh my God, Maria.
If you look, I have a very interesting side story. I have a friend who has a weird business. He goes to flea markets and buys people's old photo albums and goes through them and occasionally finds really amazing stuff. Found like an old photograph that somebody took of Charles Lindbergh, or a waitress in New York who served Bela Lugosi and his son and had a photo with him, or Boris Karloff walking through LAX in 1966. He just finds these things because he goes to flea markets. He found a woman in Pasadena was in an acting class in the 50s, and everybody in the acting class signed their 8x10 to her. And one of the people in her acting class was Ed Wood. Wow. And on the back of the photo is his resume before Plan 9, and everything you need to know is there. It's like characters played, cowboy, Indian chief, young sweater girl. Like, it's all of Ed's passions are on full display. And I bought it from him for a sum of money I won't divulge. But when Bob did get his Ed Wood tattoo, it's the same images in the photo. I gave it to him. I said, I can't keep this. If you have his face tattooed on your body, I feel awful having it. And he took it. And it's behind him on his wall. So when you watch Plan 9, you look behind him. That's Ed Wood's actual 8x10 signed by Ed Wood on his wall.
Oh, wow. So good.
Yeah.
And Deborah made she made a lot of her costume. She made her stewardess cap out of construction paper or something. There's a lot of creativity happening behind the scenes that we didn't anticipate.
One thing you never hear about Deborah Baker Jr. is she kind of phoned it in.
Never.
Yeah.
Incapable.
She's the James Brown of sketch comedy. It's nope. She's going to sweat through the cape. That's how it goes.
Love it.
Yeah. She's all in. She's all in all the time.
In the chat here from Sean Kernan. Question for either of you. Did you know that Paul F. Tompkins was coming with props and costume changes? So similar.
Yeah. Sean, I'm seriously worried about you. I mean, I know you and I know your face moves more than that. So I'm just going to say good luck with whatever it is that's going on.
Congratulations on your ventriloquism career.
That's right. That's right. No, yeah. Once again, well, let me say this too, again, about both Paul and Deborah and many of the other people in the cast. You sort of don't know, but you're not shocked when Paul F. Tompkins pulls out all the stops. I mean, that's not out of character for him. So I think I've done a ton of streaming stuff with him over the last year, and he's always present and then some. So
Bob Odenkirk too, who did very small, but he was very small, just a pencil mustache, but it was perfect. Like the way he made a really clear choice that was not the normal. He really created something unique, and that's the beauty of it. When Janet and I are very lucky in that our friends are really talented, and in Bob's case, can also beat up hoods on a bus.
We now know.
We now know. Who knew? So it's I don't know what Paul's going to do, but I know it's going to be great. And it's almost like I don't want to know. I want to see it when it happens. I don't know what Bob or Deborah are going to do, but I know it'll be great. I'll see it when it happens. I burst out laughing when I saw Bobcat in that hat.
So good.
Wasn't expecting.
Thank you. Okay, now to Jeffrey at KCLV.
Dana, I just want to say the first time I saw Plan 9 from Outer Space, it was in pieces in a documentary when I was 16 in 1982 called It Came from Hollywood.
Oh, and sure. Yeah, I know that.
That's my first experience with it. But I want to ask you about pop culture because, among comedians, because in Jerry Seinfeld, in the famous Chinese restaurant episode, they were going to see Plan 9 from Outer Space. So I didn't know, because your association with the show and with him, was that something discussed a lot about Plan 9?
No, I did not get Plan 9 to Seinfeld, but I do take credit for the another pop culture icon making it to Seinfeld, which is the Buddy Rich tape. That can be traced to me. Plan 9, no. Plan 9 probably came from Larry David because, in New York in the 80s they did run it. I mean, it was one of those things. It was in the 70s and 80s. There were certain things that you would do in New York late at night. You might go see Brother Theodore, or you might go see Midnight Showing of Plan 9, or Urinetown. There are all these things that were like the hipster, the hipster late night activity in New York.
Thank you.
But I did,
Okay.
yes. I will strongly take credit for the Buddy Rich tapes.
Nick from Scene Stealers, go ahead and ask your question.
The thing that makes doing a Zoom read different than doing, say, one live in theater is that you can have like a score and you can have all of these miniature sets. Like, how did you reach out to Mike Carano and Eben Schletter to come up with these, and like what directions did you give them?
Well, Eben has always done the show. Eben has done the live show. He works with again, and I the beautiful thing about Sketchfest is, one, it's all of your friends, but in addition to all of your friends, there's always amazing new things that the other 11 months of the year, Janet is, as she can tell you, looking at tapes and finding new talent, and, or if not new talent, but exposing new talent. And but then there's always the people that you have known. And so Eben, I think Eben has scored everything I've ever done. Janet and I did a show together called Stand Against Evil, and Eben scored that. I don't know of a thing that I've done that Eben hasn't scored. And he does it live when we do it in the theater. So he was a given. Mike Carano, I've known forever. He was always, he worked for the Improv. I don't know in what capacity, but he was a photographer on staff. I think he managed one of the clubs for
He's
a while.
also an attorney. Like, he is a full-on attorney. Many people don't know this about Eben Schletter. He is a.
Oh yes, Eben Schletter is an attorney. Yes, Eben Schletter is an attorney. Yeah. I was like, God, please don't let Mike Carano be an attorney. Oh. Why is there even court? But Mike Carano is yes, Eben Schletter Esquire is. Mike Carano is a truly unique talent and a gadfly, and one of the best follows on Instagram. Like, it'll just be like, I'll just be on Instagram and it's a Tuesday afternoon and I look on and Mike is in Death Valley filming. He found a coyote skeleton. and he has a copy of Captain Kirk's chair, and he's putting the coyote skeleton on it. Like, he's a true artist. And he does these little models on his Instagram thing, and I literally just said, would you ever want to, when we decided to do it on Zoom, I said, do you want to come up with something? And it really was one of those things where, like, I thought he would do 5% and he brought in 90%. It was like, not only do we need this, but if we film it in black and white on this filter, everything will be we didn't know how much we needed him.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Yeah.
And I would say too, my memory of you asking him was like, if there's a way I could have gotten the email that he was in faster than the email in which you posited asking him, like, it was like, I could ask Mike, he's in. You didn't even finish typing.
Yeah.
He knew. I mean, he just immediately had all of these ideas, and it was amazing.
Yeah, Mike Carano, Carano. Follow him. It's yeah. I just want a camera crew following him around all the time. it's that great.
All right, we have time for probably 2 more questions. So I want to turn to Bob first to make sure I haven't been ignoring him.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And great chatting with you guys, Janet and Dana. You guys are terrific.
Mom.
Oh, thanks for taking the time, y'all.
Oh, sure. Now your production values seem a bit stepped up from the original movie. I don't know.
Again,
perhaps a similar budget, but I'm curious what effects were the hardest and what were the easiest to pull
off. For me, and then I'll let Janice. From all of the miniature stuff was Mike, and again, everything came out so much better than it had any right to come out. For me, it was working the green screen zoom filter, but my backgrounds are photos of Mike's miniatures. It's that, like, Mike sent out to everybody is like, we just let you do some things. I built a miniature of the cemetery. I've taken some photos of it. If you want to use it for your background, it's like, oh, okay, great. It's like, he was really like Q in the Bond movie. Now this here looks like an ordinary sunscreen. Yeah, it was like he really, but that was the thing, it was mastering the technical thing. But Janet and I talked about it beforehand, like we wanted to turn the limits of zoom into benefits. We wanted, what's the reason? What is the reason to do this? And it was that.
Yeah, and it was edited by our festival director Jay Wurtzler, who is like sort of administratively a god for SF Sketchfest because we are this very small organization, and he has shown that he's kind of the Mike Carano of Sketchfest in that he has yet to be asked, something has yet to be asked of him that he can't figure out or do already, and he really became he already had sort of some experience editing and live editing and stuff with Zoom and with regular sort of cinematic techniques, and he really dove in and was figuring out like what all was possible for us on the editing side and the production side, and so he really deserves all of the kind of piecing it all together and choosing, which shots to use and close-ups versus, group shots. But what seems funny to me now is that there was actually a point at which, like, I was worried that my partners wouldn't want us to turn it into black and white. And now I feel like that was the stupidest thing for me to be worried about. Like, of course they were going to be, because Dana and I were like, we should do it in black and white, right? But I think at the time there was a sense of like, well, we're already going to be removed because it's Zoom and we're used to doing it live. And when it's live, of course, it's in the full color in which we all see with our eyes, unless we're colorblind. And so there was this sort of shifting moment of like, I was like, well, let me just make sure that it won't feel too static to my partners, because again, we're also live presenters. And so we wanted people to still feel engaged. And it was kind of a tentative email. I was like, well, Dana and I, and now hear me out, think that we should probably, and again, it was like, before I could even finish the email, they wrote back and were like, of course we should do it in black and white. But there was a moment where maybe we wouldn't have, and that would have been such a mistake,
Yeah. There's a interesting story that Scott Alexander, who co-wrote the movie Ed Wood, told me that they were doing Martin Landau's makeup test at Rick Baker's studio to make him look like Bela Lugosi, and they were looking at it, and Tim Burton was like, there's something about it that doesn't look right, and I can't put my finger on what it is. And then he just turned the color off on the monitor and it went to black and white, and he goes, oh, now it looks great. And that's when they decided that Ed Wood would be in black and white. It was not originally intended to be in black and white, and it was literally like, these people, Bela Lugosi looks weird in color, and so when it's a stage show, of course it's in color, you're in the world, but when it's presented on video, it again, it was like turning Zoom into a benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, we are right up against time here, but Kimberly at Journeys in Classic Film, I want to make sure you get your last question in.
Potentially a broad last question. I was wondering if either of you had thoughts on or would share your experience, history with classic film growing up, just more general, how that shaped you, affected you.
Okay, well, Dana will be talking. I was going to say, so that question's intended for me. No, I will defer to Dana because, like Bobcat having a tattoo of Ed Wood on his bicep, we call him Buff Cat. So I don't know why you didn't say bicep, but my experience with classic film was definitely more limited than Dana. I mean, I can't, I can talk about iconic movies, but I feel like if I answer first, then Dana will be like, okay, now let's go to town. So I'll let you answer, Dana.
Janet's very young, so yes, I love a good classic movie like Caddyshack.
I saw Young Frankenstein before color had been invented. So that classic film, I mean, it is a classic. Let's not lie to ourselves, but.
Yeah, well, to me, it was more important than I mean, it was. I have to be like biographical. I'm the fifth kid of a 6-kid family, and I was very much the runt of the litter. It became, I was one of those kids. I read a lot. I watched a lot of movies. I lost, wasn't a big athlete, and so to me it's second nature. It's just sort of the language that I speak, and there's and I find that kid goes 3 places. That guy who grows up watching those things goes into comedy and is me or Bobcat or Tom Kinney, goes into special effects makeup and becomes Greg Nicotero or any of Rick Baker, or goes into heavy metal and becomes Brian Posehn.
I was about to say Posehn.
Yeah. Or Kirk Hammett, or I mean, Brian's a comedian, but he's Grandpa Metal. But those are the 3 things. They become cool and become musicians, or they stay dorky and go into comedy or special effects. It's really fascinating. It's very, very, very rare you meet somebody that was into that stuff that's not in one of those 3 fields.